how extremely busy you are right now, and we want to make things a little bit easier and more efficient for you. So we'll go ahead and jump right in. Just to give you guys a little bit of a background, those of you who haven't joined a School Connects training or don't have any background on it, School Connects is a platform that is going to help you communicate with your families efficiently and equitably. So let me show you what it's going to look like. And my dog is scratching at my door. Sorry about that. Let me share my screen and show you what it's going to look like from the parents' perspective first. And then we'll jump over to the staff perspective so you can see what it'll look like for you. And I guess before I do that, let me just say a couple of things about your accounts. So first of all, we import information directly from Infinite Campus, and we do that on a weekly basis. And what that means for you as staff members is that you are going to receive your, let me just go ahead and get that app up here now that I started sharing my screen. You are going to receive invitations to School Connects in your JCPS email. So if you haven't yet, there's a couple different reasons. Essentially, you probably didn't receive an invitation because either, first of all, you're also a JCPS guardian, and so we can't have your information in two places. So that's okay. We can take care of you. Just go ahead and email us. It's support@schoolconnects.com, and we will get you up and running. We can either get your accounts merged or help you figure out how you can maintain two separate accounts. Another reason you might not have received an invitation is because we are working really hard with JCPS IT, and they are working really hard to make sure that we get as many role types as possible imported. But right now, we're just still not getting every single staff member. So if you haven't gotten an invitation yet, you probably fall into one of those two camps. Either you're also a JCPS guardian or you just haven't been imported yet. So hang tight, don't worry. If you need to get up and running immediately, just go ahead and email us. It's support@schoolconnects.com. And my colleague is also here. She is in the chat right now. So I'm assuming she's putting that in there. But if you guys have any questions, feel free to reach out to her. So that said, if you don't fall into one of those two camps, you probably received an invitation from us, and you are in your account and you're ready to go. So like I said, right now I'm logged in as a parent, and anyone who has an account can log in on both the mobile app and on the web. What we're going to do today is we're going to look at the parent's perspective from the mobile app, because that's where most of our parents are, and then we will look at it from your perspective on the web. So here I'm logged in as a parent who has set her language preference to Spanish. So for those of you who haven't been through the process yet, the very first thing you do when you activate your account is set your language preference. So then the entire activation process is in your language. And as you can see here, the app itself is in her language. So you'll notice at the top, it says Noticias instead of Notices. And then if I scroll through, this is my feed. So this is gonna be any news that's been posted to any group that I'm a part of. So if I am the parent of a second grader and a sixth grader, I'm going to get information that pertains to their classes and their schools, but I'm not going to get information about fourth grade or even the other second grade teachers. It's a very curated feed of information, which is going to make it really useful for me. And for anything that's been posted, I can just tap on the news item and then I can translate it. And again, this will automatically translate into whatever language they have set. Translate it back into English. So what that means is that all you have to worry about is posting news. You don't have to worry about the translations at all. If you have one family that speaks Spanish, it'll automatically translate into Spanish. And if you have another family that speaks Creole, it'll automatically translate into Creole. You don't have to worry about any of it. They can also have it read aloud to them. So again, that equity piece is really important to us, so helping you overcome language and literacy barriers. And you'll notice that they can like it, but they're not commenting on it. So just like you guys were talking about earlier about that chat window, that's nothing you have to worry about here. They're not able to comment on your posts. And so that is really all parents have to do, is read the news, like the news, that's it. You'll notice one other thing that you can post, and we'll look at this from your perspective as well, but just so you know what it looks like in the app, you can also post events. So you can post virtual or in-person events. We're assuming most of them are going to be virtual for now, but you'll notice that the Zoom link shows up for the parent. So it's going to make it really easy for them to track all of their child's virtual learning opportunities. Just kind of moving along the menu bar on the bottom, the next thing that you'll see is your directory. And so what this is going to do is make it really, really easy for the parents to contact you. So we have kind of two ways to communicate in School Connects. The first is through news, and that was the first thing we looked at. The second is through messaging. And so if a parent has a question for you, they're going to come here to their directory, and they'll have their child listed at the top, and then all of their child's teachers. So if they have a question for you, all they have to do is tap on your name and then tap message, and it will automatically start a message thread with you. And you'll notice that there was no contact information exchanged. By default, all of that is going to remain hidden and private. You will be able to see parents' contact information, but they will not be able to see yours. So everything is listed right there in the directory for them. So if they do have a question for you, it's really easy to find you and reach out. And that is pretty much all parents have to do, is they're going to read news, send you a message, respond to your messages, and that is pretty much it. So let me go ahead and jump over to your side of things. So here I'm logged in as a demo teacher. So when you log in, you'll see your feed, just like the parent did. And in your feed, you'll see any information that's been posted to a group that you're a part of. So here, as this teacher, her principal posted news. So she'll see that in her feed. And then she'll also see anything that she's posted. So it's going to look really similar to the feed that we just looked at, because this is a teacher of that parent's child. But you'll see all of this information. So a couple things to point out to you in the news feed is that right here, there's a little paperclip icon. That's for any attachments that have been posted. You'll see there's a video embedded in this post. Here's that event we posted. So I'm going to go ahead and show you how you can post news from the web. Again, you can do it from either place. You can post from either the mobile or the web, but if you're posting from the web, you'll notice this little green plus sign right here, and you can choose if you're going to post news or an event. We are going to post news. And we are just going to say talking, I'm going to spell it correctly. We're going to say talking about characters. And then there are a lot of optional things you can do here. So one of those is to schedule the post. And if you are scheduling a post, what that's going to do is it's going to allow you to create the post now, but not send it out to your families until later. So if you're creating this post late at night, which hopefully you're not, but I know realistically sometimes you are, or if you want to, set something every Sunday to go out on Tuesday and Thursday, so you're communicating with your families twice a week, you can use this feature for any reason, but I can choose the exact date and time that I want my post to go out. If I don't check that box, it'll go out immediately. There's an expiration date affiliated with every post. By default, this is going to be 2 weeks, but I can change it to whatever I want. So if I am posting about something at the end of the month, I can make it the end of the month. If I'm posting about an assignment due this week, I can make it Friday. There is an article image affiliated with every post. This is optional, but if you think about kind of what catches your eye when you're scrolling through social media, it's usually things with pictures. So we recommend adding one. This can be something that you've downloaded. This can be, if you're posting from your phone, any picture that's in your camera roll. But we recommend adding a picture. Here's where I can add additional attachments. I'm not actually going to. One thing to be aware of with attachments, though, is that we don't have access to the content, so it will not be translated. So if you are adding an attachment, just make sure that you grab the content and also put it into the body of the post. Also, I'm just remembering, I should have said this earlier, but we learned this last time we did this. There's a little bit of a lag, I know, between my video and my audio, so I'm sorry, but I am aware of that. And sorry, there's a little bit of a lag. But anyway, you can add additional attachments, and those can be PDFs or images. You can also add an audio recording. This is completely optional, but just know that it's there, and you can add an audio recording that either goes out to everyone who receives the post, or you can have it target just a specific language population. So if you happen to speak Spanish and you wanted to create an audio recording in Spanish, you could choose for it to go to only the Spanish speakers in the group. Completely up to you. Okay, and then this is where I'm going to put the body of my post. So this is where the real content goes, and I can format this just for the sake of time. I've copied and pasted one, but it can be as short or as long as you'd like. The only thing to kind of be aware of is that because there is translation involved for some families, not to make your language too flowery. You know, don't use a lot of idioms or anything like that to try and ensure the most accurate translation. Okay, and then I'm going to pick my recipients, and this is where I decide exactly who is going to see this information. So there's this gray Add Group button. I'm going to go ahead and click on that, and then I can choose who I want this to go to. So what we do is we import from Infinite Campus weekly. We import your school, your grade, and your class groups. So any classes that are in Infinite Campus are going to be imported. However, you'll see here that there are some other groups that this teacher has created. So there's a reading group, there are some different math groups, there's some extracurricular activities. So you can create any groups, and then you can choose who you want to send this out to. So I'm going to go ahead and send this out to my class. You will notice that for some of the groups, it also says requires approval. So you can publish to your own class without approval, but if you wanted to publish to the entire school, you can do that. It'll just go to an administrator for approval first. So if you're recruiting for a club or sharing online resources that apply to the entire school, anything like that, you can do that, but that's all that means. Another thing to keep in mind is these roles at the bottom. For most of you, this won't matter. However, if you are a high school that has enabled student accounts, then you can choose if you want to post to your students or your students' guardians. Now, by default, student accounts are turned off. However, high schools and JCPS have the option to turn them on. So if you're a high school and your student accounts have been enabled, you can choose if you want to post to your students. Also, if you're a high school and this is the first you're hearing about student accounts, you can get in touch with us and we can go ahead and enable those for you really easily. Okay, so once I have my group selected, I'm going to go ahead and click Add Groups. I can choose to post a reminder. So if I'm posting something about something that's going to happen in a month, I might want a reminder to go out a few days ahead of time. And then I'm going to click preview, and as long as everything looks good, I can go ahead and publish this. And then all of my families will receive a push notification on their phones, letting them know that there's new news from me, and this post will be live. Now that took us a minute, but most of those steps were optional. All that's required is to add a title, add content, and add your recipients. Beyond that, it's all optional. So you can create a post in a minute. It can be really quick, and the more you do it, the more comfortable you'll become with it. Posting an event is pretty much the same thing. There's just a couple additional fields to fill in. One is the date and time of the event, of course, and then another is the location. And if it's an in-person event, then it will default to your school's address. But if you are sending your families to community resources or anything like that, and you want to put a different address, you can do that. If it's a virtual event, you're just going to click the virtual event box and put in your Meet or your Classroom, whatever platform you guys are using, go ahead and put in that link, and then parents will be able to access that. Beyond that, it's exactly the same as posting news. You're going to go ahead and put your content, add your recipients, and that's it. So this information in your feed, these news and events, this is how you're going to communicate with your groups, with your classes, with large groups. It's one way you sending information out to your families. If you need a response from some people, you can go ahead and put it new to message you with any questions or message you with certain information. But the messages are where two-way communication is going to happen. And that is really for, one-on-one or 1-to-2 conversations. So I'm going to actually skip down to the directory tab and show you how you can start a message with a guardian from here. First, let me just give you like a tour of the directory. First of all, I can use this search bar at the top to search for any user in the school, and it'll bring them up. I can also filter by role type. If I just wanted to look at the guardians, I could go ahead and filter here. One thing I want to draw your attention to is this last access column. And what this is going to do is it's going to tell me when each person is last logged in. If they have not logged in, they will not have a date next to their name. I can go ahead and invite them. So if you're having a conversation with a parent and you wanted to go ahead and send that, they mentioned that they hadn't activated their School Connects account, I could go ahead and send them their invitation. If I click this little caret next to their name, it'll bring down a little mini profile so I can make sure their contact information is correct. And then as long as it is, as soon as I click that resend invitation link, it'll go ahead and email this guardian an invitation. For anyone who does have a date next to their name, I can go ahead and come here, and instead of saying invite, it'll say message. And so I can go ahead and message that person. Now, you might know that you want to message a specific parent, but you don't know their name. You know your student's name. So I'm going to go ahead and look for my student, Scott Ramsey. If I click the little arrow next to his name, it'll bring up his guardians. So if I wanted to message his dad, I could go ahead and find his dad's name. His dad has activated his account, so I can go ahead and click message me, and it'll bring up my message thread with him. So what it also did is it took me out of the directory and brought me here to my messages tab. If you know the name of the person you want to message, you don't need to look them up in the directory. That's completely fine. I can just come here directly to my messages tab and click this new conversations button. The one thing I want to talk about while we're here in messages is that you do have the ability to message a group. However, we very strongly discourage it, as you guys, some of you have experienced and you probably saw in your feed. What happens when you send a group message is that it's going to behave just like group texting. So what that means is you might message your entire class or your entire grade level or all of your sections about a homework assignment, but then parents have the ability to respond and everybody will see their responses. So not only do you not have control over the information that they're sending out, but it's potentially hundreds of people sending messages at all times of the night. So we can delete them. If this is something that you started accidentally or you didn't realize it was going to behave like group texting, that's not a problem. We can go ahead and delete that thread for you. You might have tried to delete it. However, when you delete a thread, it just kind of deletes it from this inbox here. If you go here and I say remove, the conversation is not gone. It's just gone from my list. So if you have started a group thread and you would like it removed, it's not a problem. Just email us at, again, support@schoolconnects.com, and we can permanently delete that thread for you. But other than that, you go ahead and stick with the one-on-one messaging. And it's a really great, equitable way for you to reach out to your families, because there is not only the translation, but also the text-to-speech. You could reach out to a parent who speaks another language and faces literacy challenges, and they will be able to respond directly to you. You don't have to worry about coordinating time with a translator or anything like that. So it's a really nice way to open up the possibility of direct communication. Okay, I'm gonna move down in this menu bar here and click on the Groups tab on the left. Now, like I mentioned earlier, what we're importing for you is your school, grade, and class level groups. And again, that's happening on a weekly basis. So as your kids are changing classes, especially at the beginning of the year, we understand, we know that's happening. Don't worry, we are gonna go ahead and update it every week. If you are not seeing your classes yet, it just means that they're not being sent to us yet. So we only have the data that is sent to us from Infinite Campus. So we know that some classes are imported and some classes are not. Every single class that's been sent to us has been imported, and we will continue doing that. So, just check in with whoever is in charge of Infinite Campus at your school and make sure that your class is in there and is set up correctly, and then we will get it. We understand that for some of you who don't see your classes in there yet, you're maybe eager to try and create your own class. That's completely optional. Just be aware that if you create it yourself, you are also therefore responsible for maintaining it. So as kids come and go, that's something that you will have to do. So we would encourage you to sit tight. You can still take advantage of the messaging for one-on-one communication with your families. And as soon as your class is sent to us by IT, we'll get it imported. Okay, so once your class is imported, we're not going to go into too much depth about what you can do in here, but I just wanted to draw your attention to a few things. So when you're in your Groups tab, anything with a flag icon next to it is a group that you own. So if I click on any group that I own, it is going to give me a little snapshot of how School Connects is being used in my classroom. So I can see how many messages are being sent, how many posts are created, what my most popular posts are, a bunch of different information. It'll just kind of like give you a little overview of what's going on in your group. Another thing that you can do is you'll notice there's this little blue gear icon in the top right-hand corner. And if I come there, I can click View Member Activity. And this is something that a lot of you have been asking about. This is going to give you every student in your class when they've last logged in, which again, for most of you is going to be never, because most schools do not have student accounts enabled. And then each of their parents and when their parents have last logged in. So some of you are saying, how do I know which of my families are here without scrolling through the entire directory? This is it. This is how you know. So this is going to give you all of your guardians and when they've last logged in. Now you'll notice in this little mini demo class that all of our guardians have logged in. That is not realistic. We know that. You will have some parents who haven't logged in. That is not a problem. You can always go ahead and re-invite your class. So I'm going to come back here to the Groups tab. And then if I hover over my class, actually, not this class. Oop. Sorry, I forgot this teacher doesn't have any groups imported. If it's a group that was imported, then when you hover over the name of it and there's this little gear icon, you will have the option to resend invitations. So JCPS sent invitations a couple of weeks ago at this point. It was 2 weeks ago. And from here on out, it is up to you guys to decide when you want to resend invitations. So whoever has an administrative account at your school has the ability to resend invites to the entire school. However, you have the ability to resend invites to your class or to, again, any group that was imported that you own. So if you just hover over it and click this little gear icon, there will be a resend email SMS invitations button, and you can go ahead and do that at any time. Just so you know, there's a lot of other things you can do with your groups. You'll notice that when I hover over it, there's also an edit button. I can change the name of my group by using that edit button. We know that they're imported with kind of the Infinite Campus name, which might not be the most friendly to some of your parents. They might not know what it is. So you can go ahead and change the name of your group. You can add users. If there is an instructional assistant or another staff member who works really closely with your class, you can go ahead and add them to your class. Again, we only have access to the information that's in Infinite Campus, but you own it. So from there, you can kind of play with that group as you'd like. And I just remembered one other thing I wanted to show you, actually. I'm going to come back to my feed. For any post that you've created, you're able to access your views. And what that means is that you can see who has read and liked your post. So I'm going to click on any post that I've created. And then if I click on the little eyeball icon at the bottom, it'll bring me to my views. And so here, we just posted this. So no one's read it, but you'll see that there's a check mark for me because I have read it. And there will be a green check mark next to the name of anyone who has read or liked your post. Similarly, in messaging, there are read receipts. So you'll be able to see who has read your messages. Don't worry, it does not go the other way. Parents are not able to receive read receipts for you. So if it's, again, late at night or anything like that, you don't have to worry about responding immediately, but you will receive read receipts for your messages, and you can access your views to see who has liked your posts. Now, all of that said, I'm going to go ahead and jump over to this other tab, which is just schoolconnects.com. This is not something you need to be logged into or anything like that. And I want to show you some of our resources. You'll see there's this resources tab, and we have all of our resources housed here. There's also a JCPS drive that has some JCPS specific resources. However, all of our resources are also here on our website. And up at the top, we have resources that are going to be really helpful for you, especially if you have an administrative account kind of getting up and running this school year. But down at the bottom, we have additional resources, and these are all of our kind of how-to guides. So I just mentioned that you can edit a group. We didn't really look at how. There's a guide for editing a group. So if you want to know how to do any of that, it literally walks you through step by step how to do it on the web, and then down at the bottom, how to do it on the mobile. So if you forget how to do anything, or you want to access some of the more minute features that we haven't gone over, you can come here at any point in time and access any of these resources and go ahead and jump in. So that is pretty much everything for us today. Again, thank you guys so much for joining us. We have had such a wonderful time partnering with JCPS. You guys have been so fantastic and enthusiastic, and it's clear that you are, eager to connect with your families, and we're getting emails from them too. So trust us, they are excited to interact with you and to get this year rolling. So thank you so much for joining with us. I am going to look over at my colleague and see if there are any questions, which there are not. So if you do have any other questions, feel free to go ahead and put them in the chat window. We would love to go over them. But other than that, like I said, email us if you either need to have your accounts merged or need help getting an invitation in any way. And even if you don't have any questions right now, once you are in and playing with it, if you have a question at any point in time, you can always reach out to us at support@schoolconnects.com.